and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV that can help you fix your phone. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge Season 40 Battle of the Eras Episode 21, aka the Reunion Part 2, meaning after this episode, we have laid to rest Season 40, but we do have to talk about some things that were discussed in this reunion episode. Now, just like last week's video, I will talk about the most interesting topics first, going down to stuff that I don't care to talk about. Let's start off. Each person at the reunion gave one man and one woman that they deem the GOAT of the challenge, the greatest of all time, where the results came out to be Rachel and Jordan won the GOAT status. Now, if you're a stan or a fan of Rachel and or Jordan, then you're happy with these results. They are voted under the context of having just won a challenge season. A challenge season that everybody is here to talk about. But for a while now, I've been trying to come up with a systematic way on who the top 50 players of the challenge is. Now that we've crossed over the season 40 mile marker, I think it would be a great time to start putting that into work, getting the help of some content creators as well as a lot of the challenge fans. So I'll be working on that for the next couple of months. I do want to say that in this moment, Jordan does give props to Johnny and CT for their hard work and laying down the groundwork for Jordan to be able to have as much success and compete the way he does. Really, really nice moment. A not so nice moment with Jordan is when he gets a targeted question where on IG Live, he talked about how some people from Era 1 have got to be feeling better that they are on a season like this so it can revitalize their challenge careers. When pushed to say names, Jordan says everybody really over at Era 1 except for Anissa. The main thing about this question being brought up that I want to touch upon is I've never seen Jordan sweat this much. We just watched him do a final. We have watched him do multiple finals, yet I don't think he has sweat as much as he did trying to back up this response that he said on IG Live. The next topic I want to get into is the Bananas Angels. We had Rachel, Aviv, and Jenny all wearing the wings and halos. Laurel did not have wings and halos until Rachel gave up her wings and gave them to Laurel, which I felt was quite surprising. In this segment, Johnny points his finger to Tori, saying that this was all her fault. She created the Bananas Angels because if they weren't feuding, as well as I guess you could wrap up Michelle in this, but if they weren't feuding and Bananas wasn't constantly being made a target to the point where he can start naming targets and protecting the Bananas Angels, that maybe the Bananas Angels would have been targeted more often and maybe wouldn't have made the final. But Tori and Devin and a few other people said that Johnny had nothing to do with Rachel, Jenny, and really Aviv getting as deep in the game as they did, as they are some really tough competitors that they could have made it to the final by themselves without the Bananas Angels moniker, that they could have made it to the final by themselves, and they won independently of whatever Johnny did. Of course, the feet stuff was brought up, and because Cara Maria had some funny confessionals about how she's not in the Bananas Angels because she doesn't pass the beautiful feet quota, in the middle of her answering a question about her feet, Laurel starts whispering into Johnny's ear, and then when Maria asked her what she just said to Johnny, Laurel tries to play it off like it's a really funny joke about how Laurel told Johnny that he should start dating Cara to save her from her relationship with Paulie back home. And it is dead silent. It is one of the cringiest responses. If this was played off as a joke, it was a terrible joke. It was not funny. Nobody cared to laugh or even encourage Laurel's tomfoolery. We get a segment of the women kicking butt. They did an incredible job. This is by far one of the most stacked casts on the women's side that we have ever gotten. And we even saw in the final that the women were finishing checkpoints way quicker than a lot of the men. They were doing an incredible job. Now, speaking of Cara and Tori, we do have a really nice topic and segment with them as they talked about how the winding road of what happened to their friendship. With them coming back together after what happened in season 34, years of growth that each did individually to where they could come together on season 40 and be able to talk with each other and confide in each other and be vulnerable with each other really mended everything with each other, to the point where Cara gives Tori a gift, where that gift was a pillow. It was one solid color, but then when you wiped your hand to go the opposite direction, it showed a picture of Carl and it said, "You have been unblocked," meaning Cara has unblocked Tori from all social media and they can be the best of friends. As we move on to the next segment, which is were people playing a scared game or a smart game? Now, Jonna at one point was apologizing to her Era 3 team because she said that she was dealing with a lot of stuff internally, that she didn't come in fully ready to play this game and not play as confidently as a two-time champion should. And so she apologized to her whole team for that. But when it came down to them talking about volunteering to become targets, Jonna said that she didn't want to volunteer because she didn't fully trust her team, going as far to say that she actually believed that she would have rather been on Era 2. There are rumors that she was supposed to be on Season 19, Fresh Meat 2, but lost her passport, so the next available season that she was on was Season 21. That bumped her into Era 3, but she didn't gel with a ton of people, and so many people already had prior relationships coming onto the season, so she just felt like she was somewhat of a fish out of water. Call it scared, call it smart. I'll be for real, I hated when people volunteered. That is not the point of the game. Why volunteer yourself? I know that Jordan is sitting there being like, you take the decision out of the other person's hands. The power is always in their hands. They have the final say, but you just give them an easy way out. As a person watching this game, I wanted to see people start to sweat. People make decisions. Make them say your name. Don't give them an easy way out. Now, there was huge discussions in Era 2, especially with the men, especially with Johnny Bananas, who was getting very frustrated that Ryan wasn't becoming a target and wasn't being chosen. We hear a little bit more that once Emily had been eliminated from the game, Ryan went up to her saying that you inspired me and I'm going to volunteer next week. And Emily said, don't do it because you never know if your team is going to throw the competition to send you in. Emily feels like her opportunity was taken away from her because Laurel decided to throw the 1 week that Emily was a target for Era 2. And Laurel does this whole fake cry, mocks Emily, and Cara even says, you up and quit. There was a double elimination, a double purge in the mini final, and you kind of just give up halfway through. And Laurel's like, yeah, but that's my game, that's my decision, and who cares if I decided to throw the competition to make sure that Emily goes home, where then a couple of weeks later, I just decide I want to go home. It's frustrating. I don't like to see people throwing competition. Laurel just comes off really, really bad here because she did look like a punk. She just got off winning All-Stars 4. Then she comes into this season and realizes that it's not going to be all cakewalks and stars being handed to you by the fistfuls to easily help you win a season. So when it wasn't easy for her, she just left. Tony gets zoomed in to the reunion where most people believe that he threw the competition lose to Darrell on purpose to be home before Easter. Now, Tony denies. Now, Maria at one point does point blank ask Tony, did you throw the competition to be home by Easter? The timing of his answer being like, no, sounded very suspicious, but it is what it is. I'm sorry, but I understand Avery's frustration with the whole Tony, but at the end of the day, she got the last laugh, and I thought that this whole segment really didn't need to be anything. And if Tony really didn't want to be there, then that just means that Leroy losing to Tony in the very first elimination makes him look worse than anybody else, and that just sucks because hopefully Leroy is going to be ready and focused for All-Stars Rivals that's coming up. Josh does claim to have played a scared game after wanting to back out of volunteering after CT had volunteered. Speaking of Josh, the last segment that I want to talk about is the Vacation Alliance versus Josh. This topic actually started off the episode, the reunion part 2, and I saved it for last because I just felt like it went nowhere. Everybody's problem with Josh, aka Devin, the Vacation Alliance, and Corey, who Zoom called into this moment, all agreed that they believe Josh didn't put in enough effort. It wasn't that he didn't persuade Rachel into not throwing in Casey and Kyland against Tori and Devin. Upon watching the episode, they feel that Josh kind of laid down and just said, Rachel, you do what you got to do. I don't care. Which Josh has said in multiple interviews, in my exit interview with him, that he tried so hard to get Rachel to change her mind. But Rachel knows how to play this game. If there's something she wants to do, there's no changing her mind. And Josh had said that he went and talked to her multiple times. But from the edit, it looks like he just had one conversation. He was very mellow, monotone, and just kind of went with whatever Rachel wanted to do, and even said, Rachel, you got to do what you got to do. You go play your game. I can see where Josh feels like he's getting ganged up on and getting dumped on and feeling like a scapegoat, but I also can agree that it doesn't look good for Josh game-wise when he feels like he owes so many people so many things. There needs to be a point where Josh is able to divide reality and real friendships with what he wants to accomplish in this game and make clear markers on who he wants to work with, because at the end of the day, Josh starts to cry. Ryan then tries to make him feel better by saying, hey, if you love Josh and don't think he's shady, raise your hand. And everybody on stage raises their hand. But that is the problem, is that he has too many friends. And if he doesn't start coming into the seasons having definitive lines that he's like, I'm definitely not going to cross this, I am going to play this, I'm going to do this, like, he's going to be in a world of trouble, because if everybody on stage is raising their hand and everybody on stage is on another season with Josh, who does he give his allegiance to? Who does he say, I definitely have your back, when he feels like he has to give something back to like 6 other people? That's where I say, like, this segment just really doesn't go too much, because how do you put a quantity on how much somebody tried in a conversation, right? Especially when you're given very little evidence or not the raw footage of how many conversations he had with somebody else. And then on the other hand, Josh has so many friendships that he needs to start thinking on who's his number 1, who's his number 2, who will he not cross, and who he wants to play with, and then be able to divide outside friendships with game time decisions. I don't think he's a shady player. I don't think he's a dirty player, but I think there are some like priorities and compartmentalizing that he needs to do with certain players, so that way it doesn't come and bite him in the butt on future seasons, you know? That's all I'm saying about Josh's game. And one last thing, speaking of Laurel, one more time, we do see a exclusive, never before seen of something in the house where Josh and Laurel do make out. And the last thing is Josh gets a targeted question on if he had to choose between Tori and Rachel to send into elimination, who would you send in? And Josh said Tori, where Tori says, yeah, it's fine. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Like, nothing came from it. They actually thought they were cooking with that question, and nothing happened from it. The reunion ends with a giant cupcake display. Carl, Devin, and Cherry bring out the cupcakes. Bananas is given an opportunity to say a speech, but then comedically he is cut off before saying anything. They just wanted to make fun of him for complaining on social media so much that he had this incredible speech and it was cut out, but then it was put on TikTok and Reddit and all this other stuff showing off that he did have a nice speech. But that is the wrap up. That is the ending to season 40. What do you think about this season overall? Where do you rank this? Do you rank it mid-tier, upper tier, lower tier? Let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about the GOAT topic and discussion? How they voted? What do you think about Rachel and Jordan being deemed the GOATs of the challenge? Let me know that down in the comments section as well. What was your favorite topic of discussion? What was your least favorite topic of discussion, going over both parts of the reunion? Let me know anything and everything down in the comments section below. And now I want to give a special shout out, thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.